Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for RB. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, tier lists, rankings, video game playthroughs, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And this is for the dark side of football. Once a Raider, always a Raider. Now, first and foremost, I'm a sucker for these type of programs. I do like this stuff where it goes to the seedy underpinnings, underbelly of certain places. Surprised there isn't one like Dark Side of Basketball. Because I'm sure there's a lot of stories you can get from that. Does they have one of football? They have one of wrestling. There's only, if it's not around now, there's only a matter of time to have a Dark Side of Basketball. Again, unless there is one, I don't know about it. So sometimes with these programs, it's like they have so much to talk about, but they only have a certain amount of time, 40-some minutes long, so some things seem a bit rushed, or some things, like the time lapse or the time gap, to be a little bit off-kilter at times. But for me, it's like a lot of interesting information in 40-some minute package that makes it at least somewhat fascinating to watch. So again, I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. So they talk with Bill Romanowski, a linebacker from 1988 to 2003 in the scheme of things. He has won 4 Super Bowls, but they were for the 49ers and the Broncos, but not with the Raiders. Now, he was known as a very rough and tumble linebacker. One incident where he spit at someone while walking away. He's walking, they're talking, and he spits at them. Another where he broke a quarterback's jaw. Very, very intense. I would say, even through the interview, he came off as a bit psychotic. That's a good word to describe him, psychotic. Oh, was this not roid rage? No, you come off as roided up to the rage. Roid rage, you really do. But he really comes off as a scumbag piece of shit, in my opinion. Bill Romanowski, for fuck's sake. Might have been good at his job as a linebacker, but still. So they talked a little bit about him and how the Raiders want him. Then it goes back a bit to the Raiders, them starting off. How they were part of the AFL. The AFL-NFL merger. How they were the Oakland Raiders and they got to Super Bowl II versus the Packers, but they lost. And eventually they did John Madden, who was the youngest coach at the time. And how John Madden really got them going. In 1976, there was a 15-1 season, and they faced the Vikings in the Super Bowl, and they won. And I think John Madden was there for 9-10 years, and I think they only won 1 Super Bowl. But also, I think they never had a losing season, so they did well, and at least won 1 Super Bowl. So at least during his tenure, 10 years. So, and of course, John Madden. I know they're doing that film with Nicolas Cage. I don't know about Nicolas Cage being John Madden. I don't know about that. I always remember John Madden from his announcement and being in the football games. And even cameos and movies and such. So, rest in peace to John Madden. But then they talked a bit about Lyle Alzado. How he moved to LA. About how the team moved to LA before the 1982 season. And a lot of talk about Lyle Alzado, just the way he was. How took the whistle as a suggestion, not a rule. How he had 2 things, calm and all hell breaks loose. And he was very good at his job, but he was also very violent and angry at his job. And an incident with Chris Ward from the Jets where Lyle grabbed the face mask, ripped it off, and then tried to swing it. So he tried to swing at Chris Ward. And they actually talked to Chris Ward. He describes about the situation, what happened. He's like, this fool had my helmet. And from then on, it was illegal to take the helmet off and swing it. I'm like, that should be fucking obvious. The fact you actually have to write that down as a rule, I mean, that should be pretty fucking obvious, but, you know, now it's there, thanks to Lyle Alzado. And pretty much they go into how he took steroids, and they don't talk a whole lot else about the rest of his career. Like, for example, he was in movies, he was in that horror movie Destroyer, where he played a psychopath. And yeah, that cover where he's got the drill, but the drill has like a scope on it. There's a slasher film, Destroyer. I figured they were not going to mention that. They wanted to stick with the football. But yeah, about his, you know, he had a bad time with steroids. He got brain cancer and died in 1992. So, died a long time ago, fairly young. Whether it was the steroids, concussions, other things, I don't know, but he died of brain cancer. And they talked about how in the late 80s, just think by that time the Raiders may have won a total of 2 or 3 Super Bowls, maybe. Probably some under Lyle Alzado. But the late 80s and then the 90s, about how the Raiders dwindled. Now, this is where I thought they kind of rushed it. I would like to have heard a lot more from the fans of the Raiders and other stuff about that time period. There's the tuck rule against the Patriots where, I mean, you all know it, but still, Tom Brady did this. It's supposed to be a fumble, but some weird rule that, oh, it was an incomplete pass, not a fumble. And it's like, 9 out of 10 people would say it was a fumble. But that gave them another shot, got the win, won the Super Bowl. Maybe without that they would have lost the Super Bowl. So probably the most controversial rule in, well, definitely in Super Bowl history, but probably the most controversial ruling in NFL history. I think most people would say the tuck rule is bullshit. There's something they never talked about before and something they never talked about after. So John Gruden, who was the coach, he was traded to Tampa. A lot of people were not happy about that. And then funny enough, later on, John Gruden was a coach for an opposing team. And since he knew all the plays, the team outshone the Raiders pretty fucking quickly. And that definitely pissed people off. Like, you fired the guy and now he's on the other team and you don't try to change the plays? Which is true. How the fuck do you not try to change the plays when you know the coach knew all the plays you had? Oh, they're doing this, so do this, this, and this. Oh, that, I know what that is. You do this. It's like, you're not going to change it? You're not going to adapt to it? Then they go back to Bill Romanowski, him as a 49er and as a Bronco. How one incident early on, someone said, never let somebody punt you. So I never let somebody punt me after that. So if like someone hits him, slaps him, he gets pretty violent. So he was only there for like a year or so, but as a Raider. But then what happened was, during a team practice, one of the teammates had pushed him or something, and then it really escalated, and I guess Bill had hit the helmet and he went for an uppercut, but as he did, the helmet came off and he hit the guy and shattered the guy's orbital bone, and then the guy could not play football ever again. That was the end of the guy's career. I guess Bill was there for a bit. I don't know how much longer, but he took a lot of pills and shit, and I don't know, Bill Romanowski again, he just seems like a fucking scumbag asshole. Like, one guy's like, oh yeah, it was roid rage. He's like, no, it was not roid rage. It was fucking roid rage, dude. You and Andrew Bernarski are the definition of roid rage. Give me a break. Yes, it was. See, I would like to have seen a bit more of, like, what Bill Romanowski did in the years afterward, even outside of football. Lyle Alzado, some of the bits he was doing. Like, again, maybe for it to be a bit longer of a program, so some things are fleshed out a bit more, including that down period of the 90s with the Raiders. Like they do again in the 2000s with the tuck rule thing, but again, a lot more than that. It would have been nice to see that. I just again to see kind of year by year how the Raiders were, and see how they got worse, like and the fans, like the gradual downgrade of the Raiders in the 90s. Or I get, like I said, maybe you'd have to have a longer program, which I would have been fine with, but you just let the air breathe in certain things. But anyway, I said hear a little bit about Lyle Alzado and Bill Romanowski. Like those two, which a lot of people in the program said those two were very much alike. Very, like, a bit too much alike. And that's obviously the dark side part of this program. So that was interesting to listen to. Decent amount of people were interviewed. Lyle Alzado's brother was interviewed. Chris Ward from the Jets was interviewed. Bill Romanowski was interviewed. It would have been interesting to see John Gruden interviewed. But, you know, a few of the people that, like, from the news and stuff at the time, covering the stuff, they talk about just how reviled Bill Romanowski was and some of this other stuff. So, interesting program that, yeah, I just wish was given a bit more room to breathe. But overall, I liked it. It was nice, yeah. I'm just repeating myself, but with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks once again, RB. Definitely worth a watch. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye for now.